Hello and welcome to episode 98 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so I'll be deviating and taking a break a little bit from the security related task, and well, not necessarily. It's not necessarily unrelated, but I guess focus on anything specifically blue team related or red team related, and want to focus on something a bit more neutral in terms of scope. And in this video, I wanted to focus on how can we import an nmap scan into the Metasploit framework. And once in there, do some further enumeration to gain more details about our target. All right, so no reason to preface this video in terms of any sort of disclaimer since it's not particularly red teaming in specific. All right, but I'm going to get started here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is, well, first, I'm going to point out to you that we have our target host here, which is located at 10.3.26.244, and I'm going to run an nmap scan against this target IP, but I'm also going to output it into an Excel file, which if successful, I'm going to upload that into the Metasploit frameworks database in order to for further enumeration. All right, so to get started, I'm going to start up nmap. All right, there we go. All right, and let's do a service scan. All right, then I'm going to skip the pinging the host. All right, so I'm going to skip that part, and then I want to output it to an XML file. All right, because that's going to put it in a machine, more of a machine readable format, and that's going to be probably the best format for the Metasploit framework to read in terms of the output and us interacting with it. All right, and then let me copy this. All right, and then I'm going to going to paste our target IP address. All right, let's run the scan. Forewarning, this may or may not take a while. And playing around with this before filming. There's been instances where it ran really slow. There's been instances where it ran really fast. So you're always welcome to fast forward the video if you find it running a bit slow, and just fast forward to the part where it's done. All right, so it looks like it didn't take too long for it to run. A little fast. I mean, slower than normal, but it looks like everything ran accordingly. All right, so not to worry about the output right now. It's not real important. Um, just know that this is the output of this scan. But let's check my local directory here and see, make sure that this file's in here. So again, the name of this file is nmapscan.xml. So I'm gonna do a list command, and we can see that the file is indeed there. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is to start up the Metasploit framework, and from there we're gonna upload this output file to the Metasploit framework database. All right, so service PostgreSQL, then we're going to start it, and as always, let's combine that step with the msfconsole. All right, All right, so I'm going to create a workspace for myself, and we're going to workspace dash A. We're going to call this workspace import underscore scan. All right, so now I'm going to run a command that's going to import our nmap output file to the Metasploit framework, and that command is db underscore import. All right, pretty straightforward. And then again, our file name is nmap um, scan.xml. All right, looks like that was uploaded successfully. Just one thing to keep in mind is that I only really had to put the file name in this instance because it was located in my local directory. But let's say that the file output wasn't located in my local directory, then I would have to give it the full relative path of um, of where the file is located. So just keep that in mind that again if the output file is not in your current active directory, you're going to have to put the full relative path after db underscore import. All right, so now that I have that uploaded, I'm gonna run a command. I'm gonna just simply say host. All right, and it should give me information for any host associated with this scanning with this nmap scan output. It should really be only one, um, which is the host that I targeted. All right, so right now you can see that we have an address, we have a host name, and we have under OS it's saying unknown, and its purpose it simply says device. So let's do some more enumeration. So the idea is the more enumeration that I do within the Metasploit framework, more of this information should be revealed, and we'll see changes as I continue here. All right, so I'm going to write services, and this is going to show me what ports were open and were running which protocols. All right, oops, if I could spell services. All right, here we are. All right, so these look a lot. These look just like what we saw saw in the original nmap scan, as far as the net BIOS port being open. We have the RDP port. We have the SMB port. Okay, so let's say that let's say I want to run this scan again directly within the Metasploit framework. All right. So what I can do is I could just say DB, because you we can run Nmap within data within the Metasploit framework. So I'm gonna say DB Nmap dash PN. All right. So that means we're gonna skip the port scan, and we're just going to simply do a send scan here. Okay. So not a but not the full TCP handshake. All right, and then we're going to do the do a version scan, and then an operating system scan. All right, then I want to aim this specifically at port 445. All right, so I want to see if I get any different information in terms of the SMB port. All right, then we're going to aim this here at the target IP. All right, let's let it rip. All right, so this should only give me results back for the SMB um, uh, protocol port 445. All right, so we can see in doing that because I gave it a service scan and an OS scan, it's trying to guess what version of Windows is running on our target host, and it's leaning mostly towards Microsoft Windows 2012, which is at a 96%, and also it seems like it's tied as far as the revision to. Actually, it's tied on a lot of stuff. So so um so it seemed like it's an agreement that it's at least that is running Microsoft Windows Server 2012 revision 2. All right, so I'm going to run the host command again, and let's see if there's been any updates as far as the host. All right, and I want to go back and just show the results before when I ran that. All right, so we can see here. All right, so we see we have the IP address, we have the host name, unknown operating system, and as far as the purpose, it just has device. All right, so let's run host again. All right, now we see some updated information. So address and host name is still the same, which it should be. All right, but now we have a updated operating system. So now it's gone from unknown to Windows 2012, and the purpose has changed from device to server because it knows that it's running Windows Server 2012. So this is an example of how when we do more enumeration within the Metasploit framework after uploading our nmap scan within the Metasploit framework, that as we further enumerate the details of that scan, it's going to start to fill in the blanks as I go. So it's another command that I can run as well, and to see if there's any known vulnerabilities in the protocols that it's or the services or protocols that it found within that nmap scan, or or the versions thereof. So I could simply just run the bones. All right, so there was no vulnerabilities, known vulnerabilities with any of the protocols or the versions ran, but if it was, it would provide that output here. All right, and then last thing we can do, of course, just exit out the Metasploit framework and takes it back into our local directory here. All right, and pretty much the information that we saw here will persist as long as the database connection is maintained. All right, so that brings me to the end of my video here. So, I mean, it was a relatively short one, just to give a brief overall synopsis of what was done here. We conducted an nmap scan where we outputted the results against a target host, and we outputted the results of that to an XML file. And once we confirmed that XML file was in my local directory, I started up the Metasploit framework. Then I used the DB import command to then import that XML file to the Metasploit framework database. Once I did, ran a host command and to see where we started off. So we started off without necessarily knowing the operating system it was running on, or the purpose, or really the purpose of the device. But once I first ran the services command to see what services were found within that nmap scan, and then I conducted another nmap scan within the Metasploit framework. Then it started to be able to fill in the blanks as far as the operating system name, which it deduced as far as having a high probability of it running Windows Server 2012. And because it was running that server operating system, then it was able to deduce that the purpose of the machine was indeed a server. All right, and then from there, I ran the bones command to see if there was any known vulnerabilities with the protocols in use or the versions thereof. It didn't find anything, but again, if it did, it would have been present in the output. And that is pretty much it. So please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. Until next time, take care of yourself, and God bless.